Hello, everyone. Okay, it's now exactly 5 o'clock, so we will start. Thank you for joining our webinar sessions today, which we will be demonstrating the new look and feel of the business tax returns in GovReports. If you have been using GovReports to lodge tax return in the previous years, for the 2024-25 onward, you will notice that the company tax return, the partnership tax return, the trust tax return, SMSF annual return will now have the same look and feel similar to that of the individual tax return in GovReports, where you will find the navigation menu on the left with the tax estimate calculator and errors navigation menu on the right hand side. The new look for non-individual returns available from for the 2024 returns and onwards. Before we start, can I get a raise of hands if you can hear me? Can you hear me, Sandeep?
Yes, I can hear you
Right.
well and clear.
Thanks. Yep. Thanks, Jessamine. Okay. So, for the tax return preparations in GovReports is pretty simple. You can start the preparations from the outstanding report with the unlodged reports, or to go by the client's profile and click on forms to get access to all the returns, including revisions or amendments. And depending on the returns, the process might be slight minor changes. So I will now pass on to the control over the Sandeep, who will demonstrate the new tax return um, in GovReports. So Sandeep, I will pass it on to you now.
Thanks,
Thank
Diana.
you.
Thanks. Right. Can you see my screen? So which should be on the dashboard?
I can see your screen, but it only shows the outstanding report. Oh, now it's coming through.
It's coming through? Excellent. Yep. Right. I think I'll just do a refresh again so that we'll have a fresh start. Right. So good evening, everyone. I'm Sandeep from GovReports. I'm just going to demonstrate the new tax return, the look and feel of new tax return, and how we can do the rollover and compare the tax return between multiple financial years, how to navigate between one tax return to the other tax return, and how to add its worksheet, and how the data will be flow from tax worksheet to the schedule and from schedule to the main form, and how to resolve the errors and the types. I mean, there are different kinds of validation rules, like mandatory field validations or the business rule validations. I'll just guide you, I mean, just show you that how to resolve all kind of errors and how to navigate from one error to the other error. So in an easier way, I'm just going to demonstrate today. Also, with the new features, there are, I mean, like a couple of features has been added, like a client relationship. So when I'm talking about the client relationship, it means that so you can add the client relationship like a beneficiaries to the trust, or the spouse to an individual, or company, I mean the dividend income, so to an individual. So when you add all the client relationship, so that relationship will be hold on the tax returns, and from the tax returns you can transfer from one tax return to the other tax return without, I mean, like opening up the other tax return. It would be synchronizing automatically. I'll just demonstrate that one. So when I just take a flow on the GovReports. And also, one of the new features that has been introduced in the new tax return is the auto saving option. So you're no longer required to click on the save button every time. So it means that whenever you do the modification or just do a data entry onto one of the field, automatically the tax return will be saved in next 20 seconds. So once the tax return has been saved, automatically the error should clear up, and also the tax estimate should be updated. Right. So let's begin. Like for the newcomers of GovReports, I just want to just give a little bit background about the technical background about the GovReports. Like it's a cloud-based application, so where you will be logging in using a browser and an internet and with the internet. GovReports will support all the latest browsers where you can access GovReports, like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or Microsoft Edge, doesn't matter. So any browser is compatible. So you will be having, when you sign up with GovReports, you will be having a username and password. On top of it, for an additional security, we'll be having the two-factor authentication is mandatory. So that two-factor authentication, you can get it to your email or to your mobile as a text, or using your Google Authenticator, you can get the code, generate the code, and log into the GovReports. So once you log into the GovReports, you can see the beautiful dashboard where you can see all the stats available. So it'll be more helpful when you're working within the GovReports. And a couple of more widgets has been added, like recently reports, which will give you access. The latest 5 reports that you're currently working will give you access with the open button, where you can just click on the open, will directly take you to the tax return. And we have few other the features has been added within the GovReports that would be covered up in the next upcoming webinar. Today I'm not going to touch that, so which I'll be just covering up only on the new look of tax returns for non-individual, like a trust, company, partnership, and self-managed super fund, and also for FBT as well. The FBT, so we have already released the 2025 tax return, and which is successfully the clients are lodging the 2025 FBT tax return, right? Let me just pick up one of the clients. So it's always like when you start working for a tax return, you need to go to a client's profile. So which either you can go to the outstanding reports on the under the ATO reports, or you can just jump directly into the clients. So where I'm just going to the clients menu, and so I'm just going to choose one of the client to prepare the company tax return. So obviously, when you just for example, if the client has any outstanding reports, it should automatically synchronize with the ATO, and all the details should be available when you click on the client's name under the work in progress outstanding reports with the actions to prepare. So in this case, we have all the old tax returns. I'm not going to touch any of those old tax returns, but I'll be just starting with the 2024 tax return. So to make it everything like the new look, because these tax returns are still in the older format. So until, as Tiana mentioned, until 2023, so the tax returns will be the business tax returns or the partnership tax returns will be in the old look. Only from 2024 onwards, it will be in the new look, similar to the individual tax returns if you already been using GovReports for individual tax returns. Right. So what we have done is that, like, I'm just going to choose the forms and select the company tax return. So this is how when the for okay. So this one requires a TFN. I'll just be choosing a different client. So where is that? I'll be just going into this one. Yeah. Which if you already prepared a tax return and which is in the current status, as you all know that, like, there are different kind of status for the tax returns, like a draft, valid, processing, and lodged. These are the 4 status for tax return. So when the report has been prepared and still it is pending, so then it would be in the draft without validating. So once it has been error free and make as a valid report, that should be the report status should be a valid report. So any valid or draft report, that should, you can see that under the work in progress under the current form, where you can just go over there. What I'm going to do is just I'm going to delete this one and going to start as a fresh one for you. So how it looks like, I'm just going to delete this before we start. Just give me a moment. Just go open up the reports to delete tax return. So you need to go open the tax return, go to the 3 lines with the box. This is where, like, wherever you see the GovReports, that's a common settings, like a 3 lines with the box would be the more settings. So when you go to the more settings, you can see more features like delete. In this case, we have a delete button. just click on the delete and confirm. That would just wipe off the tax return, remove the tax return from your account. I would say that like I've been in technical support for a long time. So like accidentally the people would delete the tax return and be panicked like they want to restore the tax returns. In that case, we have a grace period of 3 days. So before 3 days, if you contact our support line, then we can restore the deleted tax returns. That's a new information. So like I'm just going to choose the same client and going to the forms and selecting the company tax return. Right. So when it comes to when I click on the selecting the company tax return, so the we will be redirecting you to a new screen where you can see the financial years. So which you can see only the 2024 financial year for now, and upcoming when we release the 2025 tax returns, you can see the new row. So which will have an option for starting the new tax return. So in this case, it shows that like a 2024 tax returns with a financial year period, amendment sequence number, and the status as new, and start button and non-lodgement advice. In just in case if you want to lodge an non-lodgement advice, then you can click on the non-lodgement advice to submit the return not necessary. And so as you see that there is a start button for the new status. If the tax return has been already prepared, which is in the draft, then you can see the status as a draft, and then there will be an edit button rather than a start. Right. So before I start the tax returns, there are a few more features that has been included in the screen. I just want to cover up that as well. So what like recently there was we have received many requests from the tax agents where their clients are having the tax returns prior to 2011 onwards, which GovReports will support the tax returns from 2011 for the business partner and trust type tax returns, but that's a direct lodgement. So when we don't have a solution for a direct lodgement prior to 2011, so we had a discussion with the ATO, and then ATO just advised that so you can just have an alternative solutions where GovReports can prepare a paper format. So there will be a user interface where the tax agents can go and prepare the prior year tax returns for prior to 2011, and that can be printed in a printer and can be sent to the ATO for processing. And for those kind of prior year tax returns, there'll be in manual options like there'll be different status for the tax returns, like when it has been prepared and prepared. So that will be in a draft. Still, the draft one can be submitted to the ATO. Once it has been submitted, the status of the tax return will be changed to send to ATO. And once the ATO is processed, that will be notified to the tax agents. Then the tax agents can come over here to the GovReports and can change the status to be processed and completed. So
So,
only for the
sorry, Sandeep. So what it means is that for those prior tax return, the prior 2010, or from 2000 2010 onwards, it's paper lodgement, right? But prepare from in GovReports, printed in PDF, and then you can send it off. Will you have the pre-filling for those returns as well, or it's just filling out manually?
so unfortunately there is no pre-fill information for any of those business tax returns, like business partner. Only the individual tax return will have the pre-fill information from ATO, not for any other
Okay,
tax returns.
right. Okay.
Right. So that's a good question, Tiana. So, which we have, we were requesting with the ATO for many years to do the pre-fill for other tax returns. I think ATO will be giving us, ATO is currently working. So hopefully we'll wait for another couple more years to get that pre-fill information for non-individual tax returns. Right.
Okay.
And so we were talking about like the prior year tax returns. And now, so there is one more feature that has been included, that's called future tax returns, where you can see the button next to the green button over here, future tax returns. So any earlier lodgements that you want to submit through GovReports, there is I mean, we have introduced a new feature. So that is called a future tax return. So using the 2024 version of ATO model, still you can submit the 2025, just in case if the company has been wants to submit the earlier, I mean, if the ABN has been cancelled and they want to submit the earlier tax returns in between the 2024 financial year. So then you can use these features, like you click on the future tax return and click on the start button. That will just give you an options to do the earlier lodgement for 2025.
And again,
So
would that be paper, like printing
now,
out PDF and then lodge, or just
now
submit through SBR as well?
this is a direct lodgement. You don't want to worry about the paper format. Only for the pre-area tax returns that requires a paper format. Anything like 2011 onwards, even for the future tax returns, it is a direct lodgement to the ATO. It's an instant. So once you click on the submit, clear up all the errors and submitting to the ATO, it will instantly update on the ATO taxation portal.
And you
And
mentioned that using for this current financial year, you're using the 2024 tax table. So in the 25-26, will you be using the 25 tax table or the 24 tax table?
so there is no much difference on the tax table for non-individual tax returns. You don't want to worry about the tax rate.
Okay.
And there is an options that which will be calculated based on the 2024 or 2025 tax rate. And there is an option that you can modify, edit the tax rate, and which you can do another, for example, in the company tax return under the calculation statement, you can do the changes. And likewise, once you submitted the 2025, there'll be an options to do the revisions as well. And also there'll be I mean, you can do the rollover from the previous financial year that can be rolled over and pre-filled with the information for the 2025, and you can submit to the ATO. Right. So yeah, there is one more feature I just missed out on this screen. So which is called the comparison. So when I'm talking about the comparison, so it is more exciting that what is comparison within the tax return. So what we have done is that, like, comparing the tax return between multiple financial years. So what will the comparison will do? So when you just like click on the comparison, and that will give you an options to choose the financial years. So currently this company has no tax returns that has been submitted through GovReports. That's why it is just don't allow you to select that. Otherwise there will be an options to tick the check boxes and then click on the compare. So once you click on the compare, that will give you a report, which I can just show that for one of the individual tax returns. That is the same, I mean, it has been introduced in the individual tax returns as well. Like that will give you like a label on the left hand side, and then the financial year and what is the value, a comparison, and also with the comparison, so there'll be a up or down arrow based on the value increasing or decreasing. You can see the difference on the comparison report, and that report can be downloaded in the PDF format as well. So before we start the tax returns, I'll just jump into one of the individual tax returns and then show you the comparison. That will be before we get into that, I'll just show you that one. Just going to the tax service. Sorry. Forms, individual tax return, and compare. So currently for individual tax returns, there will be comparison for 3 years, but non-individual tax returns, that would have only for 2 years at the moment. But when we release the 2025 tax time, that will be having like for 3 years. So 2024 is not available. I'm just going to choose 23, 22, and 21 with the compare button. So that one click will make the magic of showing all the comparison between for 3 different financial years. So these tax returns where you can see like the comparison, so which will show only the labels which are available within the tax returns. Just in this case, it has only the item number 6. There is no salary or wages. So if we have the salary or wages, total income, so everything should come up, or just whatever the values available, it should come up over here. That will give you on the top with the details of a client with the TFN. So this TFN in this account which has not been masked, otherwise there is an options in the settings where you can mask the TFN, that would be hidden, like the TFN can be hidden. Right, so this is how the tax return looks like. And also if we have like a multiple schedules or worksheets added, that will also be available for the comparison. So over here, so you can see the net rental, all the particular details, and what is the tax estimate. And when I was talking about, there is a arrow just up arrow and down arrow. So where you can see at the on the right hand side. So in this case, there is a down red arrow which shows that which is compared with the last year, it has gone down. And this report can be printed into a PDF format. Just on the top right corner where is a print button, that print button will just download this comparison report into a PDF copy. Just clicking on that, just with the loading, and then there is an options to download as well. And that will open in a new tab where there is an option on the top right hand side corner to download into your local disk storage. This is very useful report when just preparing the tax returns with the multiple financial years. Right. That's one of the good feature. So I'm just moving on to the other thing, like straight away jumping into the tax return. So I want to choose one of the company tax return, company client, and then we'll go to the forms, company tax return. Right. Just starting the 2024 financial year as a fresh tax return. Right. So as we earlier mentioned about the navigation, like the structure of the tax return, which will be like similar to the individual tax returns if you already been using GovReports. And so the same structure that we want to maintain throughout the application to make it as in like compatible with the other devices, and also want to make it as a similar thing, so make it as simple and easier format for all the tax agents. And so over here, so when comes to the structure of the tax return, so where we show on the left hand side top right left corner, they show the name of the tax return with the financial year. Just underneath that, so you can see the client's name and their TFN. And also while you're preparing on the tax returns, just in case if you want to just jump into the client's details for some reasons, there is what you need to do is you need to close the tax return, then you need to go back to the client's profile. To avoid that, what we have done is that we have just included one more feature, so a link on the top client's name. Just clicking on the client's name will open the client's profile on the new tab. So that will take you to the client's profile to modify the client details, or just to verify the client details, or any client linking or client relationship that you want to confirm that. So you can do that over there. And so on the left hand side, just underneath the client's name or the entity name, so where you can see like the navigation menus, so which will have like a, so it's like a main form. So all the tax returns will have a main form and supporting schedules and worksheets. So anything with the main form and schedules will be sent to the ATO, but not the worksheets. Worksheets are for just for workout purpose within the GovReports. The data would be maintained within the GovReports, but it will not be sent to the ATO. Only the main form and the schedules will be sent to the ATO. So for the company tax returns, so you can see all the navigations for the main form on the left hand side and the schedules when so so when you click on the schedules, which shows all the relevant schedules on the left hand side, which will just populate like any relevant schedules available for company tax return, that should be available. And also the worksheets. So any worksheets that you can see on the left hand side. So there are two different types of worksheets and schedules. One with the single worksheet or a schedule, or the multiple ones that you can attach. So that will show you, like for example, under the worksheets where you can see like a capital gain worksheet which has a count with a plus sign, that will indicate that you can add multiple worksheets for the company tax return. That count will, so when you add multiple worksheets, that will, the count will be increased. But so when it is as only one schedule can be attached or worksheet can be attached, then you can't see that plus sign. Just clicking on the name directly, which will just navigate you on the main work area, so that will just pop up like the details to be entered. So the data flow, it is always like when you add a worksheet, that will be transferred from worksheet to the main form, sorry, worksheet to the schedules, and then from schedule to the main form. The data transfer is automatic, then you don't need to do a manual data entry. So it will automatically transfer from worksheet. When you add a worksheet, it will be straight away taken into the main form. Like this is the navigations where you can just right away jump into each sections has been having a navigation menu on the left hand side. For example, under the main form you can see company details, information statement, like item from 1 to 7, and item from 8 to 12, losses and other items. So where you can just straight away jump, when you click on the navigations, the main work area, the middle part of the tax return, it will straight away take you to the section. Otherwise, when there is an options, when you start working on the tax returns, so clicking on the company details, that's the main first page of the company tax return, where you can see all the company informations down there on the right top of the top header, and also on the bottom. So I mean, previously we had only the navigation buttons down the bottom, and based on the client's requirement and the feedback suggestions that we received from the clients, that what we have done is that we have introduced the navigation buttons on the top as well. Like so when you scroll down, so that buttons on the header on the top, so which would be just like floating ones, which will be floating on the top, where you don't want to scroll up and down every time, so where the upper buttons would be automatically available. So each section there'll be a save button, and also the navigation between. If you want to move on to the next one, so just click on the information statement, or you can just click on the navigation on the left hand side menu. So all the navigation button up, like a previous and the next button, that should be already available on the header and the bottom. So each section will have a save button. So when you're preparing any doing the data entries, it should automatically save, or you can just click on the save button to make sure everything has been saved. When we are talking about like saving the tax return, so this is the new feature where on the top right you can see auto save option. So it means that any data changes, I mean like the tax returns that you're doing, any data entry or the changes to the tax return, you don't need to click on the save button every time. The GovReports will automatically save the tax returns in next 20 seconds automatically. So for example, so in this case, I'm just going to one of the areas. I'm just going to save. See, when I'm just click on changes, is this a final tax return? I said no. where you can say saving in 28 seconds or 30 seconds. I mean, like the default settings for saving is 30 seconds. In next 30 seconds, the tax return should automatically save. So you don't want to click on save every time. So to make the data, I mean, like don't worry about like losing the data once you do the data entry without clicking on the save. So it means that GovReports can automatically save the tax returns on its own. So now we can see that it has been successfully saved and the error should be automatically get rid of the tax return. If you think that this I mean auto saving is not quite comfortable for you and then you want to just turn this off, so when you open the tax return, there is an options where that's this button, just turn it off. That won't click on, I mean won't do this auto saving options. So as you doing at the moment, like just do the data entry and clicking on the save button, that would automatically, I mean clicking on the save button would should save the tax return details. Also there is another settings involved. So for example, if you think that you don't need to turn off the auto save options every time that you open a tax return, it means that there is a settings under the settings and lodgement settings and report settings. There is a settings button, so where you can just permanently turn off the auto saving options. That would not be appear on the tax returns every time. Automatically it will be turned off. And so the main difference between the old tax return and the new look of tax return, so within the Gov reports, is that, so the main thing is the navigation and also the technologies that we have updated. So it means that we are making it as a lightweight. When we are talking about the lightweight, means it is more compactable, easier, and work easy. And also we have introduced new other features like the tax estimate. Previously we don't have that tax estimate for business type of tax returns, and now we have introduced that. So where you can see a short summary of the tax estimate for company tax return based on the calculation statement that should come up over here. And so
One
then
question. One question, Cindy. You mentioned earlier that on the left-hand navigation bar or menu where you have the client's informations. Now, if you click on that, you want to change maybe the address or something, or linking clients to the return. That means it's gonna open another window. Is it possible then, using that window, I can open up another tax return and work at the same time?
that's a good question, Tiana. So within Gov reports, you can have two tax returns open on two different tabs, and you can work on that. Previously we didn't have that feature, so, but recently we have changed something, and then it is allowing you to do work two tax returns at the same time. And so when we're talking about the linked clients, I would recommend not to open the tax returns on the new tab. I would say that to complete one tax return at a time and then open the other tax returns. So if you keep open, then an action required that you need to refresh the page. Otherwise, the data from one tax return to the other tax return won't be flow when you already kept it open. Right. So the other one, like the help, the business definition. So this one has been added with the all type of tax returns. Previously, we didn't had that. This one has been introduced recently, like the business in definitions. So if you could see that business entity final tax return indicator, where it comes from. So what we have done is that whenever you just clicking on one of the field or the text box to enter that, it automatically shows that what is that field is belongs to and what is their business definition. So in this case, if I'm just navigating from one box to the other, for example, now I'm on the BSP number. So it gives you what is the BSP number and what is the definition for that one. So that these are the basic informations which if you want to go into a like a main thing. So where, for example, I'm just clicking on non-refundable, non-carry forward tax offset trust. So that will give you what it is about. So just in case if you're not aware of what field is that a new field or just recently added field by ATO based on the regulation changes, then you can see the definition over here as well. Right. And so the main thing is that so when we all work on the tax returns, the errors, that is the main thing that we need to clear up before submitting to the ATO. So as you all know that GovReports would make sure that the tax return is error-free reports only can be submitted to the ATO. Once with an error, you can't submit to the ATO or you can't send it to your clients for authorization. So mainly our technical team and also the business team, what we have decided is that we need to make it a simplify with the errors. How easily we can just provide an error-free, make the errors clear within the tax returns. Like there are two different types of validations available within the GovReports, like mandatory field validations, and also the other one is the business rule validations. Mandatory field validations, it's a simple, straightforward, which shows that this field is a mandatory where you need to complete that. Business rule validations, which involves between multiple fields, for example, for example, when we are in the calculation statement, so that rely on the, for example, the tax payable or the amount due, so which rely on multiple fields that will have an detailed about the description and also the steps to resolve as well, one by steps. For example, if we are already added a worksheet or a schedule or and that values involved between the schedule values, then it will have a steps. Go to the on the left hand side navigation, go to the schedules, open the company capital gain tax, go to the item number, label P, and enter the details or if just whatever the changes required, that will project you how to resolve that. So in this case, first we need to resolve all the mandatory field validations. So there are two ways that you can straight away go to that one. So we can, when I'm just putting my cursor on top of the error message, where you can see the view button, clicking on the view will straight away navigate you to the which field is required to be completed, and it will be highlighted as well. For example, say now you can see the red box on the top of the industry code that is required. In this case, I'm just going with as an accounting services. Click on the save. So once you click on the save, automatically the error should be resolved. So likewise, to make the error-free tax returns, so you need to clear up all the errors. Once all the errors has been resolved, you can straight away jump into the declaration section where you can see the public officer declaration and also the tax agent declarations. And there'll be multiple options whether you want to submit directly to the ATO or send for the signature. Like send for signature is there is an inbuilt digital authentication tool available within the GovReports where you can send it for authorization, electronic signature tool that would have an automated workflow. So when the client has opened the document, completed the signature, the tax return status would be automatically changed within the GovReports, and also you will be notified when the client has completed the signature. And it is easier, and the workflow for the digital authentication, the electronic signature tool, is very simple and easy, and also there will be some instructions on the email where the clients can just go and complete the signature part.
Best of
So
all, it is free.
sorry, Tina, say it again.
Best of all, the e-signature components of GovReport is free with your subscription to GovReports.
That's right, yeah. And valid and save, so it means that you can save the report as a valid, that can make the report as a valid. And if you want to do the bulk lodgements for multiple clients at the same time, you can do that and then keep the report as a valid, and then you can schedule the lodgement. That's one of the new features that will be covered in the upcoming webinar. So where you can just if you're out of the office and then if you want to lodge all the tax returns or any kind of reports on time, then you can schedule the lodgement. Only the valid reports can be scheduled. Then automatically the Gov reports will be sent to the ATO and written back with the notification all for the successful lodgement. And if there is any failure, and also it will be notified to you as a failure lodgements as well. Right. So this is how, I mean, the navigation or the look and feel of Gov reports. One thing I just missed out is that linked clients. So the reason I've just kept this at the end, I mean, like end of the tax return, is that so this one have an, more features where you can do that within the tax return, or you can do that on the client's profile. When I'm talking about the client's profile, so when you click on the client's name on the right hand side, you can see all the multiple tabs, and also there is an option called client linking. So or linked clients. So once you go to the linked clients, the similar view would be available to add a client relationship. So what is this client relationship? As I mentioned earlier, so you can add multiple relationship to this client. For example, it's a family group or a trust or a spouse income, or for a rental property, that you can add the relationship. That relationship can be pre-filled within the tax returns, and then you can go transfer data from one tax return to the other tax return. In this case,
So,
let me show you that. Just clicking on the add client relationship. Any questions, Tiana?
yeah, so the client's relations you're saying here, and the fact that you've got the company, so there
Yep.
is dividend distributions to shareholders as well.
You can see that on the screen. There is a dividends.
Okay.
You don't believe that, which has been released last week,
Okay.
right? So the dividends are pre-filled from the ATO, but still there are some companies like the company tax returns which has not been submitted to the ATO. But before that, they want to transfer the dividends from the company tax return to the individuals. That's the reason we have introduced this dividend income.
Okay.
So where you can see that the type. So when I selecting the individual type of client, and so just individual client and then client's name, so which will automatically I mean all the individual clients should come up. So in this case, I'm just selecting as this is an individual client which is available on my client list, and selecting this to be as an dividend. And there is a, I mean there is a subsidiary as well. So when the company is lodging for I mean like as a head company is lodging, and then they want to list out all the subsidiaries on the report. That report won't be, I mean the subsidiary details won't be sent to the ATO, but still they want that subsidiary details to be listed on the report. In that case, you can just use these subsidiaries. So, and also there is an options down there. So the I mean I just missed out about the subsidiaries. When you select as a subsidiaries, there won't be any transfer. This is only for the listing purpose. But the dividends, yes, the dividends would be transferred from one tax return to the other tax return. There is an option called synchronize automatically when the client's tax return is modified, and vice versa. So this one will not be ticked automatically. So if you tick this checkbox, that would do the magic. Like you don't want to transfer one by one. So once you tick that synchronize automatically and save changes, this will make the transfer from tax return to tax return when they do the changes between two tax returns. So there is no limitations on the client linking. So you can add up to as much as client relationship that are required. So this, and then you can transfer from one tax return to the other tax return. The only rule that requires is that the other tax return, to transfer from one tax return to the other tax return needs to be in the draft status.
So while we're on this topic, Sandeep,
Yeah.
if I'm doing the company tax return, and the dividend distributions from the company, if I decided to add a client, it's a new client, it's not the shareholder is not on my individual tax return client list, would that give me the options to add this client as a new client?
Sorry, Tina, say that again. So you added as this individual client as a to transfer from company tax return to the individuals as a dividend income.
Yep. And if the client is not on my client list, can I add that client as into my system as into my GovReports account as a new client
No,
directly?
so you can't do that on the linking the clients. But
Yep.
as in, for example, if it is a statement of distribution, if the client is not available on your GovReports account, but you can manually add that the client, the beneficiaries, even though the beneficiaries is not in your client list. But client relationship requires the client needs to be within the GovReports.
Okay.
And so when I'm talking about the report status, whether it is a, I mean, I told you that report needs to be only in the draft. But so, for example, if a company tax return has been already submitted, and today I'm preparing the individual tax return, and if I'm adding a client relationship, so with the lodged records to the ATO, that I mean within the Gov reports, we have the records within the Gov reports. We'll be pulling out all the dividends from the lodged ones to the individuals. Don't I mean if you want to pull out from one tax returns, we don't worry about the report status. Even though if it has been lodged, you can pull that. Previously, this was restricted with only for the draft ones, but now even with the lodged ones, you can pull the information from one tax return to the other tax return. So transferring from one to another, so the receiving tax return needs to be in the draft. That's the thumb rule over here. Let me quickly jump into the trust tax return and show you one of the other features like with the client linking.
Yeah, before you go into that,
Yep.
yeah, sorry, Sandeep. Before you jump onto the trust tax return, I have a question from Natalia. Her question is, currently depreciation schedule is only available in the tax return. How can we do depreciation in ledger if the tax return for the company is not prepared at the same time as ledger? We need some sort of assets register and let the ledger to be connected to the tax return. What is your advice and how to do the depreciation, for example, management report for the company uh, in the middle of the year without creating a tax return?
Right. That's a good question, Diana. So we already been discussing with our technical team for enhancing our ledger with the asset management. For some reasons, it has been delaying, so we don't have a clear picture on the implementation on the asset management in our ledger, which requires that to be enhanced because the reason is that our ledger needs to be upgraded. Only then the asset register can be included. So we are waiting for few years now. So hopefully in the upcoming years we will be making some changes to the ledger. So enhancing the ledger and also adding the asset management that could enhance the depreciation on the asset ledger to transfer from ledger to the tax returns. Hope that answers your questions, Natalia.
Thank you. Okay, and also from Natalia, is it possible to roll over the industry code from the previous year returned?
Yeah, it should be rolled over automatically. If not, let us know so we can do that.
Okay, and another question, if I have two computers next to each other, will I be
Hmm.
able to say see GovReports uh, module on one computer screen and the ledger module on the other computer screen? The answer is no. You can log in from if it's two separate computers. Unfortunately, we consider it as duplicate logins. So you can, as I mentioned before, similar to the client's details. So you can, if you go to the client's profile, sorry, the client's name on the top, you click on that, it will open up the window where you can edit the client's profile. But then you can also, from that screen, you can also open up the ledger and work on, have different windows for your the ledger, and the other window for the tax returns
Cool.
from the same computer. Cool. Thanks, Sandeep. Continue on.
And we have a couple of hands up, Tiana. So Ishani Patel,
I don't see that. I see all questions from.
the no,
No,
it's
I
not
see
about the question. So that's they just put the hands up.
just a hands up. It's all good. All questions answered. Thanks, Sandeep.
Right. Okay, cool. I'll be just jumping into the trust tax return, and moreover, so how are you going to exit from one tax return? So when you're preparing the tax return, so the way is that two ways that you can exit from the tax return: just clicking on the save and exit, or just on the top left corner. So you can just click on the three lines that will just take you to the main navigation. So in this case, I'm just going to click on the save and exit. Right, the company tax return saved. Okay, clients, Star Family Trust. I'm just going to pick up one of the trust type of account. And so when we're talking about like the client relationship, adding the client relationship, the more important thing is that you need to make sure the client has the business type. This one is an optional field at the moment within the GovReports, but make sure you add the company type. So whether it's a company, trust, or a partner or sole trader, only then you can have the relationship. You can just see the clients on the adding the relationship. So in this case, how I mean, if you're not aware of if the business type is not available, then what you need to do is just click on the client's name, edit on the top right. So where you can see the display name, or just I mean next to the organization type, you can see the trust. So make sure that you select the type and then save changes. So you can see just a warning message. If the business structure is changed, the client relationship will be removed. So in just in case, if you already added a client relationship based on the structure, and then you're going back to the clients and modifying the client business type, then it would automatically remove the existing client relationship. That's the warning that has been already provided. So in this one, I'm just going to the trust tax return, edit. Right. So when we're talking about the client relationship, which I've already added one of the client as an trust income. So like the beneficiaries, the when you go to the statement of distributions, so under the statement of distributions, you can just pick up the, for example, if this one, I'm just going to delete these beneficiaries from the existing one and adding a new beneficiary. And when I just go to the TFN, it should automatically list down all the client relationship like the beneficiaries, the trust income beneficiaries should available. When I'm selecting the beneficiary, it should automatically pull out all the details and the address details and the date of birth should be automatically pre-filled. So once it has been pre-filled, so you can just add the distributions, whether it is at 100 percentage or 50 percentage. So in this case, I'm just going to add a 50 percentage over here and then save changes. That should be automatically distribute the beneficiary, I mean like the income to the beneficiaries. When I've selected the individuals over here, the TFN, that should automatically transfer. When I click on the save button, that should automatically transfer into the individual tax returns details. So where I'm just going to show that in a minute. So and also there is one more features had been, I mean otherwise like the tax return and look and feel is look same for all type of tax return. One additional features for trust is that like a show benefits distribution summary. In this case, what we have done is that like just to make it as easier, so that we have seen many clients has been struggling with the statement of distribution distributing values where there is a difference, $1 difference or $2 difference or cent value difference, when they can't resolve the error. So in that case, what we have done is that we have just introduced one of the table on the top. When you click on the show distribution summary, which will show you like what is the total on the each labels and how it has been distributed to the distributor and what is the balance. When the balance is not been reconciled, then it will be in the red. For example, I'm just going to change this to be 100 percentage for this client, for this beneficiary, where you can see all it has been sorted out, so which is in the black at the moment by default color. So you can just have an options to hide, so only the values, the amount values available on the label, that will just pull out that as well. If you're doing a manual distributions and there is a difference between $1 or $2 difference, then it will just, this summary will give you a quick overview to resolve that. Likewise, in the partnership, so statement of distribution, you can choose the partner details as well based on the grouping the linked client relationship. Right. I think I've covered up all the latest features within the latest look and feel of GovReports tax returns, non-individual tax returns. And for the trust ones, where you can't see the summary at the moment, which will be released in the upcoming financial year. We are currently working on that. Right. Let me just quickly jump into my dashboard and let me see if there is any questions. Any
Any
questions,
further
Steve?
questions for
Any further
Sandeep?
questions?
Okay, we do have a questions. Okay. From Natalia, in the individual tax return, can you please create an error warning for the returns which have the SDP previews which are not finalized? Currently, it validates returns. Say if I create a return in early July and some of the SDP is not finalized and the later changed, then it keeps the old SDP info if I do not check.
Right. So in terms of unfinalized pre-fill information, what we've done is that there is a flag which has been already included on the pre-fill information. So where when you go to the individual tax returns, saved reports, okay, one of the individual tax return, on the pre-fill, like the income statement, there will be a flag that this has not been finalized, and you need to make that it has been, accept. Only if you accept that, then the tax return will be validated. If you don't accept that, then the tax return won't be validated. So we have a flag under the income statement, I think over somewhere in this screen, so that will show under the salary and wages which has been unfinalized. But we can't restrict on the validations because ATO would be already just allowing you to do the lodgement. So that's the reason which we have not restricted on the validations or doing the lodgement.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so
So I can see that
question.
questions. As Natalia is asking also, sole trader ledger could be transferred into a tax return. Not at the moment. So we are not transferring for individual tax returns from ledger at the moment. So which will be with the upcoming enhancements that we can do that.
Okay, I have a question from Ishani. Can we
Yeah.
transfer capital gains or loss in the individual tax returns?
Yes, certainly you can do that. So it is from transfer for upcoming financial year, or what kind of transfer? Transfer to the later income years?
You know you have the rollover options, the transfer the capital upcoming. See,
To the
Ishan
upcoming
is saying
later income years, right? Yes, we can do that.
it's an
Shani,
option
you
where
can
you have
repeat that?
the rollover
Yes.
option, isn't it, Sandeep?
Yeah.
If you choose the rollover option, it will it will carry forward the capital gains or loss forward to the new financial year.
Yeah. So before that, in the tax returns, if you need to have an options to roll over to, I mean, like a transfer, carry forward to the next financial year, and then that will be rolled over when you're talking about the new upcoming new financial year.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna wind up this today's webinar. If you have further questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Post these sessions. You can reach out to us either through the phone or through email. And again, thank you for the support. It looks like we don't have any further questions. Once again, thank you. We do have next week. We do have several webinars as well. If you're interested, please do not hesitate to go onto our website and register for those sessions. We do. Okay, that's it. Once again, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks, Sandeep.
Thanks, Tina. Bye.